Hi, I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and in this video I'm going to show you how to assemble the rhinoceros pattern. This one is showing an Indian rhinoceros, which has just one horn, but the pattern does include other rhinoceroses that have two horns, so you can do it either way. Here's how to do it. Okay, this is the video showing how to assemble the rhinoceros block if you are not using a light box. So I've got all of my pieces prepared. That means I've printed, you can also trace, but I've printed the pattern out on the paper side of paper-backed fusible adhesive, and then I fused it to the back of my fabric and cut all the pieces out on the solid lines. So you'll see a number of dotted lines and solid lines inside the pattern. The dotted lines are all placement guides that are telling you where other applique pieces are going to be positioned, and I've marked those for the most part with a chalk line, and I use chalk because it's light, and so if I'm putting a light color on top of it, I don't have to worry about that line showing through. For the eye and the nostril, I know that I'm going to applique that with a solid black piece, and so I don't care. That black marker line is not going to show through. The solid black lines are stitching guides, not placement guides, so those you do want to mark with black. I just use a fine tip Sharpie and trace them, so you can put this up to a window and the lines will show right through, so you can trace them onto the fabric side. And it's okay that this is a permanent pen because I'm going to stitch right over it with black thread, so it doesn't matter that the ink is permanent. And the eyelashes are optional. I just think that they make it really, really cute, so I like stitching the eyelashes. Okay, so now we're going to position the first piece, and that is his head. So I'll peel off the paper. And I like to do almost all of my blocks what I call snapshot style. So I want it to look like I have snapped a photo of this rhino and then I zoomed way in so that I'm focused on his face. So he has a body, it's just not in the photo. And to give that same illusion, I am going to lay the straight cut edge of the headpiece, line that up with the raw edge at the edge of the block, so that when I sew all my blocks together, that edge will be caught in the stitching line and it'll give the illusion of a cropped photo. So we've got that there. And now I'm going to go ahead and put his ear in place, his big ear, the forward-facing ear. There we go. And now he's got another smaller ear that's on the other side of his head. And they're the same size, you're just seeing the tip of it here. I'm going to just tuck that behind until that chalk line is covered. And if you have any questions about where pieces go and what goes where, there is a placement guide in the pattern that tells you all the pieces are numbered so that you can see what goes where. All right, next up, let's go ahead and put his eye and his nostril in place. Again, these are both just black ovals, and so the eye is noticeably bigger than the nostril, but on some of my pieces, they are close to the same size, some of my animals. So that, again, that placement guide can be helpful in figuring out what is what. And now we have his horns. And so some rhinos have two horns, some rhinos have one horn, and I've designed this pattern so you can do either. So if you have one horn, it goes on the front where this is, I've got my placement guide, that chalk line marked there, and there's a point here and a point here, and you want those points to line up with the curve of his head. That helps make it look like that horn is growing right out of the top of his head. So if you're making a one-horned rhino, you're done. But I am making a two-horned rhino here, so we're going to put in his second horn as well. And again, those points here, I just want to make sure that they line up with the edge of his headpiece. All right, that is ready to fuse and stitch. So I'm going to take this over to my ironing board, fuse everything in place. Just follow the directions on whatever brand of fusible adhesive you use. I use Heat and Bond Light for all of my quilts. And I'll get it all fused in place, and then I'll do all of the outline stitching, and I'll bring it back here and show you the finished block, and also show you two other rhinos I made using different colors, and one of them is a one-horned rhino, so you can see what that looks like. Okay, here is one finished rhinoceros. This one I made an Indian rhino, so it only has the one horn, and I added the optional eyelashes, which I think make them extra, extra cute. But here are two other rhinos. So this one I made with the two horns, and this one is more like a Sumatran rhino is often kind of brownish colored. And then I did one more version. This one also has two horns. Oh, and I gave every one of them the eyelashes. I usually do one without, so you can see what that looks like, but I guess I couldn't resist the eyelashes on the rhinos. So all of the rhinos got eyelashes this time, but you can definitely leave them out if you don't want to stitch those little lines. So two different rhino versions, one or two horned, and you can get the pattern at shinyhappyworld.com. I'm Wendy, and I will see you next time.